The Zags were phenomenal. They were awesome. They did everything that we were hoping and expecting and assuming that they would do. And they, to me, look coming out of the weekend like the indisputable best team in the country. For those of you who watched the 2 games this weekend, the first one, they play Kansas on Thanksgiving Day, which, by the way, shout out to those 2 teams for getting this game on the schedule on Thanksgiving Day so I didn't have to watch that awful Lions-Texans game. As a matter of fact, I'll even take it a step further. I have decided from now on we cannot consider Thanksgiving a football holiday. It is forever going to be a basketball holiday until we get the Detroit Lions off our TVs. I will not watch any more Detroit Lions game. I'm drawing a line in the sand. Get me good college basketball. And I will tell you, Kansas and Gonzaga certainly gave us a good college basketball game. The final score was 102-90. Great game for really the entire Gonzaga roster. Jalen Suggs, I thought, was the star. Drew Timme, 25 points, 6 boards down low. And then Gonzaga followed up with an even more impressive win against Auburn. And if you remember last week, I talked about Auburn. They lose their top 6 scorers. Their whole team is freshmen and sophomores. Their best player, Sharif Cooper, is essentially, as of right now, not eligible. And so I bring it up because Gonzaga, to their credit, took on 2 teams that they were favored against and dominated them both. And when I look at this weekend, the first thing I would say is what I told you on last Tuesday's episode. This is the most complete team in college basketball. Now, look, Baylor's going to have their moments. Villanova's going to have their moments. And Villanova already had a moment, by the way, against Arizona State. I still think Kentucky will be there in the end. I think Tennessee is going to be really good. I think Illinois is going to be really good. Iowa, Wisconsin, on and on and on and on and on and on and on. But when I look at the most complete teams in college basketball, Gonzaga has to be at the top of the list. First of all, 3 really good guards in the backcourt. Jalen Suggs, as I mentioned, 5-star freshman, McDonald's All-American, highest-ranked recruit in the class. Against Kansas, he finished with 24 points and 8 assists. He was phenomenal. I want to get to him in a minute. They also have my boy, Joel. Yeah, I always do the every time because I just like his name. Who's a really good kind of on the ball, off the ball, creator, scorer, finisher. To me, he's an NBA player. They have Andrew Nembhard, the Florida transfer, he's all right. I mean, I think he's in the right role for this Gonzaga team. They have Corey Kispert on the wing, who for people who did not follow it last year, declared for the NBA draft, probably would have been drafted, I think potentially even in the late first round, decides to come back. They have the Drew Timme kid who's leading the team in points and rebounds. And then they just got a lot of other nice parts. Julian Strawther, who is a kid who tested positive, Dominic Harris, on and on and on and on and on. But I bring it up because they really have no weakness, right? Like they can shoot, they're good down low, they're athletic, they can score, they can run, they can play in the half court. But what I want to say about Gonzaga is this. What I believe separates them this year is one simple thing. It is the emergence of point guard, freshman Jalen Suggs. Jalen Suggs, to me, was the revelation of the opening weekend of the college basketball season because we knew about how good Cade Cunningham was. We knew how good B.J. Boston, Terrence Clark in Kentucky are. Evan Mobley at USC was or is. Zaire Williams, who is at Stanford, who'll make his debut on Monday against Alabama in the Maui Invitational. We know how good those guys are. But what I would say is in the bigger picture, I don't think a lot of us knew how good this Jalen Suggs kid was. Now, he was a top 10 recruit, so I'm not saying it's like he came out of nowhere. But, I mean, he was kind of behind that first tier of guys that I just mentioned, Cade Cunningham, Evan Mobley, Jalen Green, who's in the G League, Jonathan Kuminga, who's in the G League. This Jalen Suggs dude can ball. And it's kind of crazy even how he ended up at Gonzaga in the first place. Shout out to Mark Few, because basically everybody stopped recruiting him, assuming that he was going to take a professional pathway, maybe go overseas. Obviously, the G League became relevant there late in the process, and Gonzaga was just basically the only team that was recruiting him there till the end. So this was a kid that everyone thought was going to go to Australia, decides to come to college basketball, and now I'm telling you this. He might be the most dynamic player in college basketball. Like I said, through 2 games, the kid is averaging 18 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds. But it's the way that he's playing that's incredible. He's a crazy athlete. It's already been talked about. Yes, he was very good at football too, one of the top high school quarterbacks in the country. Crazy athlete, can get to the rim at will. Maybe the best combination of athleticism and skill in college basketball. He can attack. He can pull up. He's great in transition. But most importantly, in a sport, which is basketball, where sometimes you just need a guy to go make a play, go get a bucket, like he's that dude. There was 2 or 3 times late against Kansas where Gonzaga just needed a guy to go get them a bucket. This dude just took it to the rim, either got fouled, got to the line, made the bucket, whatever. I really actually, and I don't want to go too hyperbolic after one game, he reminds me of Derrick Rose at Memphis, of John Wall at Kentucky, of just dudes that can put a team on the back and just get to the rim and get a bucket. And to me, he is the X factor for this team that completely changes my trajectory on them as a team. And I picked them to win the national championship. But when I look at a team that has 2 guys in Corey Kispert and Joel who could have gone pro this offseason, when I look at Drew Timme, who's a hoss down low, who will probably play in the NBA at some point, Andrew Nembhard, former top 50 recruit, SEC experience, a couple other top 50, top 100 prospects, and then you look at this kid and you realize he is by far the best player on this team, that makes them really scary. Now I'll say Gonzaga has issues like anybody else. Obviously, look, it'll be interesting to see what happens this next week. They play West Virginia on Wednesday at the Jimmy V Classic. They play Baylor on Saturday, which will be an awesome game. And obviously, look, they play in a tougher conference where all of a sudden San Francisco has beaten Virginia. Pepperdine took UCLA to triple overtime. BYU's good. St. Mary's is good. So like they're going to have tough games ahead. I'm not saying they're going to go undefeated or anything like that. But what I'm saying is, to me, they look like the best team in college basketball through 2 games. I don't think it's really close.